Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive where we're going to explore a world where billions of dollars are changing hands and entire industries are being reshaped. We're talking about mergers and acquisitions, or M&A for those in the know, specifically in those advanced industries that are well advancing our future. Think automotive, aerospace, industrial, semiconductors, the big leagues. Our compass for this journey is a recent McKinsey report, and let me tell you, it's packed with insights that might just surprise you.
What's fascinating is how M&A activity in these sectors took a little dip in 2023 and 2024, but it's bouncing back with a vengeance. We're looking at about 812 deals worth a cool $196 billion just in 2024 alone.
Yeah, and it's not just some random blip. McKinsey points to some pretty powerful forces at play here. Falling interest rates, the emergence of game-changing technologies like AI, the ever-growing importance of software and its ecosystems. And get this, private equity firms are sitting on a mountain of cash, almost $1 trillion, ready to pour into these sectors.
It really highlights how M&A is becoming less about companies playing catch-up and more about strategically leaping ahead. You're seeing them use acquisitions to instantly acquire capabilities that would take years and enormous resources to develop in-house.
Makes you wonder who's going to make the next bold move, right? So to really grasp the impact of all this, let's dive into some specific sectors. And first up, we're hitting the road with automotive.
Of course, everyone's buzzing about the electric vehicle revolution and self-driving cars, but behind the scenes, it's not all smooth sailing. Automotive suppliers are facing a real squeeze. They need to invest heavily in new tech while costs are rising and everyone's racing to develop those cutting-edge software features that make cars smarter and safer.
It makes you realize that these seemingly futuristic advancements have very real down-to-earth consequences for the companies involved.
Exactly. And the report highlights that supplier profitability is actually decreasing, making M&A a crucial survival strategy. They're joining forces to gain scale, share resources, and access the latest technologies. What's also interesting is the rise of Asian companies making strategic inroads into Europe.
Like what we saw with Luxshare, partnering with Leone and AAC Technologies, snapping up premium sound solutions. It seems like the global landscape is shifting right before our eyes.
Exactly. It's a fascinating chess match of global proportions. Now, if we shift gears to aerospace and defense, we see a different kind of drama unfolding. Geopolitical tensions are simmering, drones and space exploration are becoming more prominent, and even the way defense services are delivered is changing rapidly.
It's almost like we're on the cusp of a new era, and everyone's scrambling to position themselves.
And that's where M&A comes in. We're seeing a wave of consolidation with smaller companies merging to gain scale, and giants like Boeing streamlining their operations by divesting non-core businesses. It's all about becoming more agile and laser-focused, and the world is becoming increasingly complex.
So it's less about being a jack of all trades and more about mastering a specific domain.
Precisely. And speaking of Boeing, their acquisition of Spirit AeroSystems really underscores this trend. It's a clear signal that specialization is the name of the game, as companies strive to innovate and respond to very specific market demands.
Speaking of specialization, let's move on to industrials and electronics. What's the big picture in this sector?
Here it's all about acquiring capabilities for the future. Companies are going after businesses that have the software expertise, AI smarts, and sustainable solutions that are essential for a world increasingly focused on decarbonization and supply chain resilience.
So they're basically future-proofing themselves by acquiring the skills and technologies that will be in high demand.
Exactly. And a prime example of this is Honeywell's acquisition of Carrier's Global Access Solutions business. This move brought Honeywell significant software capabilities in building technology, highlighting how software is becoming indispensable across various industrial applications.
It really emphasizes that software is no longer just confined to the digital world. It's becoming the backbone of our physical world, too.
Absolutely. The McKinsey report also highlights the rapid shift towards energy-efficient technologies and how it's going to accelerate equipment purchases across the board. We're talking about a massive influx of investment and innovation in areas like heat pumps and electric motors.
Wow, so much is happening behind the scenes. But what about the brains behind all this tech, semiconductors? I mean, our entire tech-driven world hinges on these tiny chips.
You hit the nail on the head. The semiconductor industry is facing some of the most intense challenges and opportunities right now. Demand is through the roof thanks to AI, 5G, and a host of emerging technologies. But on the flip side, they're grappling with a significant talent shortage.
So how are companies tackling this dilemma? They can't just conjure up experienced engineers out of thin air, right?
Right, that's where M&A steps in. It's become a critical tool for acquiring specialized expertise and talent. Companies are also diversifying geographically to navigate geopolitical challenges and secure their supply chains. Think of it as a global chess game, where each move has major implications for innovation and economic power.
It really highlights how M&A isn't just a business transaction, it's a strategic move with far-reaching consequences.
Precisely. And despite some economic uncertainty on the horizon, McKinsey expects M&A activity in semiconductors to remain robust. The stakes are simply too high for companies to stay on the sidelines.
It's fascinating how these seemingly separate industries are all interconnected and influenced by these larger forces. So, to recap what we've learned so far, it seems like new technologies, the constant pursuit of efficiency and growth, and a global power shift are driving a resurgence in M&A across these advanced industries.
It is indeed a dynamic landscape, and it makes you wonder, doesn't it? With private equity firms sitting on almost $1 trillion ready to invest, which industries are likely to see the most M&A activity in the coming years? And how will this reshape the global economic landscape?
That is a thought-provoking question. It makes you realize that we're not just observing these trends, we're living them. We'll definitely explore this further in our next segment. But for now, take a moment to consider how these trends might impact your own work and investments. It's knowledge that can give you a real edge in understanding the forces shaping our future.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of M&A. We've seen the trends, the billion-dollar deals, the global chess match. But now let's get under the hood and explore what's really driving all these mergers and acquisitions.
It's not just about companies getting bigger, it's about them getting smarter, more agile, and future-ready. You have to remember that we're living in an era of relentless technological advancement, and M&A is becoming a primary tool for companies to not just keep up, but to leapfrog ahead. It's like they're saying, why build it when we can buy it? Especially when it comes to cutting-edge technologies like AI, autonomous driving, and those next-gen materials that are so complex and expensive to develop from scratch.
Exactly. Think about the race to dominate the electric vehicle market, or to unlock the full potential of artificial intelligence. These are challenges that demand massive investments, specialized expertise, and a willingness to take calculated risks. And sometimes the fastest and most strategic way to get there is through acquiring a company that already has a head start.
It's like assembling a dream team of innovators, but instead of recruiting individuals, you're bringing in entire companies with their own unique strengths and expertise.
Precisely. And this drive for innovation is only one piece of the puzzle. Another key factor is the relentless pursuit of efficiency and growth. In many industries, margins are shrinking, competition is fierce, and companies are under pressure to streamline operations, cut costs, and expand into new markets.
It makes you wonder if M&A is becoming less of a choice and more of a necessity just to survive in this hyper-competitive environment.
It's certainly a strategic imperative for many companies. By merging with or acquiring a competitor, a company can eliminate redundancies, leverage economies of scale, and gain access to a broader customer base. This can be particularly attractive in industries with high fixed costs like manufacturing or aerospace, where even small efficiency gains can translate into significant savings.
So it's not just about adding to their portfolio, it's about optimizing what they already have and creating a leaner, more powerful machine.
Exactly. And while we often focus on the financial aspects of M&A, let's not forget the human element. What happens to the employees of the companies involved in these mergers and acquisitions?
That's a question that's often overlooked amidst all the talk of billion-dollar deals and market share. Are these mergers a good thing for workers, or do they lead to job losses and instability?
It's not a simple answer, and it really depends on the specific circumstances of the deal. In some cases, mergers can lead to job losses as companies consolidate operations and eliminate duplicate roles. However, in other cases, mergers can create new opportunities for employees as companies expand into new areas, diversify their offerings, and require new talent to support their growth.
So it's not always a doom and gloom scenario.
Definitely not. In fact, some mergers are specifically designed to acquire talent and expertise. This is particularly common in industries with a shortage of skilled workers, such as software development and engineering, where attracting and retaining top talent is essential for success.
So it's almost like a talent arms race where companies are using M&A to bolster their workforce and gain a competitive edge.
Exactly. And it highlights how M&A is not just about numbers and balance sheets, but about people and their livelihoods. And we can't talk about the current M&A boom without mentioning the role of private equity firms. They've amassed enormous amounts of capital in recent years and are actively seeking investment opportunities in advanced industries.
They're like the big spenders in the M&A world, always on the lookout for promising companies to add to their portfolios.
And they're not just passive investors. They often bring in their own management teams, implement operational changes, and restructure companies to improve efficiency and boost profits.
Yeah.
Think of them as corporate makeover artists, using their expertise and financial resources to transform businesses and increase their value.
It's like they're taking companies with potential and giving them a turbocharged makeover to unlock their full potential.
Exactly. And once they've made their improvements, they typically sell the company or take it public, hoping to generate a significant return on their investment. This could be a positive thing for the companies involved, as it can provide them with access to much-needed capital and expertise. However, it can also create uncertainty and disruption for employees as they adjust to new leadership, new strategies, and new ways of working.
So it's a bit of a gamble for both the companies and the employees.
There are certainly risks and rewards involved on both sides, but what's undeniable is that private equity is a major force shaping the M&A landscape, particularly in advanced industries.
Okay, so we've talked about technology, efficiency, talent, and private equity. Are there any other significant factors driving M&A activity in these sectors?
Yes, there's one more that's becoming increasingly critical: geopolitics.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing. How are global political dynamics playing into the M&A game?
Well, as global competition intensifies, companies are looking for ways to expand their reach, secure their supply chains, and navigate an increasingly complex regulatory landscape. And M&A can be a powerful tool for achieving those goals.
So it's not just about domestic expansion anymore, it's about strategically positioning yourself on a global scale.
Exactly. By
Yeah.
acquiring a company in a different country, a company can gain access to new markets, tap into new resources, and diversify their manufacturing capabilities. This can be especially attractive in industries that are heavily regulated or that face trade barriers.
It's like playing a game of global risk, where each M&A move is a strategic maneuver to gain a foothold in key markets and outmaneuver your competitors.
Precisely. And we're seeing this play out in a number of sectors, including semiconductors, renewable energy, and pharmaceuticals, where companies are using M&A to establish a global presence and mitigate geopolitical risks.
So M&A is becoming a tool not just for business growth, but for geopolitical strategy as well.
Absolutely. And it highlights how M&A is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon. It's not just about buying and selling companies, it's about reshaping industries, driving innovation, navigating the ever-changing landscape of the global economy, and even influencing the balance of power on a global scale.
It's mind-boggling to think about the ripple effects of these deals and how they can shape not just the fortunes of individual companies, but the trajectory of entire industries and even the global economy.
It's a fascinating and dynamic world. And while we've focused on the drivers of M&A activity, it's important to remember that not all mergers are successful. In fact, many fail to achieve their stated objectives. And even when mergers are successful, they can take a long time to integrate and can be disruptive to both companies involved.
So it's not a guaranteed win for everyone involved.
Definitely not. There are risks and challenges associated with any M&A deal, and it's essential for companies to carefully weigh the potential benefits and risks before embarking on this path.
So what are some of the biggest pitfalls to watch out for? What can companies do to increase their chances of success?
Well, one common mistake is failing to conduct adequate due diligence. Before acquiring a company, it's essential to thoroughly assess its financial health, operational efficiency, and cultural fit. If you don't do your homework, you could end up with a company that's riddled with problems or that's simply not a good match for your organization.
It's like buying a house without getting a proper inspection. You could end up with a money pit instead of a dream home.
Exactly. Another common pitfall is poor communication. During a merger, it's essential to keep all stakeholders informed about what's happening and what to expect. This includes employees, customers, suppliers, and investors.
So transparency is key.
Absolutely. If you don't communicate effectively, you can create a lot of anxiety and uncertainty, which can damage morale, productivity, and even the reputation of the companies involved.
It's like trying to merge two families without addressing everyone's concerns and expectations. It's bound to lead to conflict and resentment.
Precisely. And another common mistake is trying to integrate two companies that are too different in terms of their cultures, values, or operating models. This can lead to clashes between employees, conflicting priorities, and a general sense of dysfunction.
So cultural compatibility is crucial.
Very important. It's often said that mergers are like marriages. And just like in a marriage, if the two partners aren't compatible, the relationship is likely to be short-lived and unhappy.
That's a great analogy. It highlights how M&A is not just a financial transaction, but a human endeavor that requires careful consideration of the people involved.
Exactly. So the takeaway here is that M&A is a complex and risky undertaking. It's not something to be entered into lightly. If you're considering a merger acquisition, it's essential to carefully weigh the potential benefits and risks. And it's crucial to have a clear plan in place for how you're going to integrate the two companies if the deal goes through.
That's like planning a major expedition. You need to have the right equipment, the right team, and a clear map to guide you through the challenges ahead.
Precisely. And even with the best plan, there will be unexpected obstacles and unforeseen circumstances. But with careful preparation and a willingness to adapt, companies can increase their chances of success in the M&A arena.
Now, we've talked a lot about the drivers of M&A activity and the potential pitfalls, but let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the impact of these deals on the broader economy.
Sure, M&A can have both positive and negative effects on the economy.
So it's not a clear-cut case of good or bad.
It's more nuanced than that. On the positive side, mergers can lead to increased efficiency, innovation, and competitiveness. They can also create new jobs and boost economic growth.
So they can be a force for good.
They can. By combining resources, expertise, and market share, companies can often achieve greater efficiencies, develop new products and services, and compete more effectively on a global scale.
It's like creating a more dynamic and innovative marketplace where companies are constantly pushing each other to improve and evolve.
Exactly. But on the negative side, mergers can also lead to job losses, reduce competition, and higher prices for consumers. They can also concentrate economic power in the hands of a few large corporations.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Exactly. The impact of M&A on the economy is complex and depends on a variety of factors, including the specific industry involved, the size and scope of the merger, and the regulatory environment.
So it's not always easy to predict what the outcome will be.
That's right. M&A is a powerful force that can shape the economy in profound ways. But it's important to remember that it's not a magic bullet, and it's not always the right solution for every company or every industry.
It's like any powerful tool. It can be used for good or for ill. It all depends on the intentions of those wielding it and the context in which it's used.
Precisely. And that's why it's crucial to have a thoughtful and balanced approach to M&A, considering not just the financial implications, but also the potential impact on workers, consumers, and the overall health of the economy.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the drivers of M&A activity, the potential pitfalls, and the impact of these deals on the broader economy.
We have, and I hope our listeners have gained a deeper understanding of this complex and fascinating world.
Me too. Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to touch on one more important aspect of M&A, the role of government.
Sure, governments play a crucial role in regulative M&A activity. They have a responsibility to ensure that mergers don't harm competition or consumers.
So they act as referees, making sure everyone's playing by the rules.
Exactly. They review proposed mergers to assess their potential impact on the market, and they can block mergers that they deem to be anti-competitive.
What factors do they consider when making these decisions?
They look at a variety of factors, including the market share of the companies involved, the potential for price increases, and the impact on innovation. Their goal is to strike a balance between fostering a dynamic and competitive marketplace while also protecting consumers from potential harm.
So it's a delicate balancing act.
It is, and it's becoming increasingly complex as the global economy evolves and new industries emerge.
Now, are there any current trends in government regulation of M&A that we should be aware of?
Yes. In recent years, there's been a growing trend towards increased scrutiny of mergers, particularly in the tech sector.
Why is that?
Well, there's concern that a few large tech companies have become too dominant. And there's worry that this dominance is stifling innovation and harming consumers. So governments are stepping up their efforts to ensure a level playing field and prevent monopolies from forming.
So it's like they're trying to prevent the emergence of a tech oligarchy, where a handful of companies control vast swaths of the digital landscape.
Exactly. And this trend is likely to continue as technology becomes even more integrated into our lives and the economy.
That's an important development to watch. It could have a significant impact on the future of M&A activity, particularly in the tech industry.
It could. And it highlights the importance of understanding the regulatory landscape when considering a merger or acquisition.
It's like navigating a minefield. You need to be aware of the potential risks and have a clear strategy for avoiding them.
Precisely. And that's why it's essential to have a team of experts who can guide you through the legal and regulatory complexities of M&A.
Okay, so we've identified another layer of complexity in the M&A world. Not only do companies need to consider the business and financial implications of a merger, but they also need to be aware of the regulatory landscape and potential government intervention.
Absolutely. M&A is a high-stakes game with multiple players and ever-changing rules.
Well, I think this is a good place to pause for now. We've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive, from the driving forces behind M&A activity to the potential pitfalls and the impact of these deals on the broader economy.
We have. And I hope our listeners have gained a deeper appreciation for the complexities of this fascinating world.
Me too. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be back soon for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore the future of M&A and advanced industries and what it means for all of us. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been knee-deep in the world of mergers and acquisitions, exploring the forces shaping those advanced industries that are frankly shaping our future.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? We've seen how companies are leveraging M&A to gain a technological edge, boost efficiency, attract top talent, navigate geopolitical shifts, and even tap into the vast resources of private equity.
You know, for something that sounds so corporate and dry, M&A is really a high-stakes game of strategy, with each move sending ripples across entire industries and even the global economy. It makes you realize it's not just about spreadsheets and boardrooms, it's about the technologies and innovations that will shape the world we live in.
Exactly. And as we wrap up this deep dive, let's zoom out even further and consider some of the broader implications. What does this M&A wave mean for the future of innovation, competition, and even the distribution of economic power? These are questions that should matter to all of us, not just Wall Street analysts.
Okay, so big picture thinking time. Where do we even begin to unpack all of this?
But one thing that immediately stands out is the potential for accelerated innovation. When companies combine forces through M&A, they often pool resources, share expertise, and gain access to new markets. This can create a fertile ground for breakthroughs that might not have happened otherwise.
So instead of each company trying to reinvent the wheel on its own, they're joining forces to push the boundaries of what's possible. It's like a collaborative approach to innovation, but with a lot of money on the line.
Precisely. Think about the race to develop self-driving cars or to bring personalized medicine to the masses. These are complex challenges that require massive investments and a diverse set of skills. M&A can help companies assemble the right team and resources to tackle these challenges more effectively.
But isn't there a flip side to this?
Wow.
What about competition? Doesn't all this consolidation lead to fewer players in the market, which could stifle innovation in the long run? I mean, less competition often means less incentive to push the envelope.
That's a valid concern, and it's something that regulators are grappling with. The goal is to find that sweet spot, a balance between fostering innovation and preventing monopolies that could harm consumers by limiting choice or driving up prices. It's a tricky tightrope walk.
It sounds like a constant tug of war between promoting growth and protecting consumers.
That's a good way to put it. But here's where it gets really interesting. The rise of new technologies and business models is also creating opportunities for new players to emerge and challenge the established order. Think about the explosion of startups in areas like clean energy, fintech, and even space exploration.
It's almost like a counterbalance, right? While some industries are consolidating, new ones are emerging with the potential to disrupt the status quo. It's a dynamic process.
Exactly. These nimble startups are often at the forefront of innovation, and they're attracting significant investment. They can disrupt established industries, even as those industries are consolidating. It's a reminder that the business landscape is always evolving.
So it's not a one-way street toward bigger is always better?
Definitely not. The barriers to entry are lower in some ways, thanks to advances in technology and access to funding. This creates a more dynamic and competitive landscape, even as some sectors experience consolidation at the top.
This makes me think about the impact on jobs. Does all this M&A activity ultimately lead to fewer jobs as companies merge and streamline their operations?
That's a common concern. And it's true that M&A can lead to job displacement in some cases, as companies consolidate operations and eliminate redundancies. But it's not a simple equation of more M&A equals fewer jobs.
So it's not a clear-cut win or loss for workers.
Exactly. The net impact on employment depends on a variety of factors, including the specific industries involved, the types of jobs being created and lost, and the overall health of the economy. In some cases, M&A can actually create new jobs, especially in high-growth sectors driven by innovation.
It's almost like a reshuffling of the deck, with some jobs disappearing while others are being created in new and emerging fields.
That's a good analogy. And it highlights how M&A is not just about companies. It's about people and the skills they need to thrive in a rapidly changing world.
Okay, so jobs are one piece of the puzzle. What about the bigger picture? Does all this M&A activity ultimately lead to greater economic inequality, with wealth and opportunity concentrated in the hands of a few? It's a concern a lot of people have.
That's a complex question, and it's one that deserves careful consideration. M&A can contribute to inequality, especially if mergers result in fewer companies controlling larger shares of their respective markets. This can give those companies more leverage over suppliers, customers, and even governments.
So it's not just about the numbers, it's about the potential impact on society as a whole.
Precisely. We need to think about the long-term implications of M&A activity and make sure it contributes to a more equitable and sustainable future.
Well, this has been a truly enlightening deep dive. We've gone from analyzing individual deals to considering the broader impact of M&A on innovation, competition, jobs, and even the distribution of economic power.
It has been quite a journey,
Yeah,
and I hope our listeners feel equipped to not just read the headlines about mergers and acquisitions, but to really understand the underlying forces and potential consequences.
absolutely. This is the kind of knowledge that can help you make sense of the business world, make informed decisions, and even anticipate the trends that will shape our future.
So as you encounter news about the latest M&A deal, remember to ask yourself a few key questions. What's the strategic rationale behind this move? What are the potential benefits and risks? And how might this reshape the industry and even the world we live in?
Those are great questions to keep in mind. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of mergers and acquisitions. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.